Hello there, and welcome to Thank the Maker, a podcast about heroes, princesses, scoundrels, hokey religions, ancient weapons, and all things Star Wars. I'm Adam Russell.
Hey, I'm Nick Ganbarian.
Hey, it's Mike Forster. Hello, my friends. Adam, you're looking well after I saw you in Detroit this past weekend. What's up?
Lucky.
You know, just out here in Canada, reading people's minds. Like, you know, when you thought to yourself, I'm going to wear that one hoodie, I thought, I should wear that too. That'd be the cutest thing of all time.
Right. And you're on a limited luggage situation, and I have nearly every Star Wars Roosevelt's piece upstairs, but it's that kind of day where I'm like, you know what? Brothers from another mother, man. I appreciate it. It was very fun to hang. Sorry. It's okay, Nick. You know we love
this Mandalorian jacket on.
It's very nice. It's one of my favorite pieces they've done. Adam and I got to hang in Detroit. We got to eat some sushi. I got to show him a little bit around the metro area, and we had a great time. It was nice. Then, of course, in true fashion of the Force, we went to the after bar, and what was playing on the TV? None other than
The Phantom Menace.
The Phantom Menace. It like just started too. That was what was
it
actually
on
kind
like
of awesome.
TBS or something, or was it?
streaming? TNT or something.
Okay,
yeah,
TNT,
it was just on the TV.
I wanted to know if it like happened to be on or it was a choice.
I didn't.
Basketball or hockey could have been on, and that was like next, you know?
Right, yeah.
I mean, this was at 11, probably like 11:30 and 12 midnight, probably.
Yeah.
So like the Phantom Menace was just on, and I was like,
great.
This is amazing. And then of course Adam zeroes in on the Star Wars trivia game that was there. I had never. Have you seen that game before? I've never seen that game.
No, it's weird because I've been looking for or waiting for an updated Trivial Pursuit for years. You know, they did that, like the expansion pack. I don't know when they, I guess they added the prequels and then they just stopped that licensing deal. So they made this thing at some point, and it's kind of a knockoff. Like instead of the little Trivial Pursuit pie, you have like foam lightsabers that you add pieces to until you get the full lightsaber.
Credit to them, they actually had 4 different lightsabers. They were all independently drawn. They were not generic hilts. It was like proper Obi-Wan, proper Luke, proper Vader. It was very nice. And then we had
Mace Windu was the fourth.
Mace Windu. It was awesome. Luke's Return of the Jedi, green saber, of course.
Nice.
And then I had 2 friends with us, two good friends.
Uh-oh.
Well, lost you.
Mike, where are you? Mike?
No audio. He's dead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hit something. Basically what happened is me and Adam were playing pool, and we made our friends read every single question in that game to us as we were playing pool. And they were like, how many questions are there? We're like, not enough. Keep it coming. They were somewhat impressed. So
we had enough beers that Mike was like, come on, next question, let's go. What is it? Just like no filter, just like, let's do this.
I'm good at one thing, and it's Star Wars trivia. Let's go.
This is my time to shine.
This reminds me, there is bootleg versions. I think there's at least 2, like Star Wars, like Cards Against Humanity. That would also be something we should do.
Oh, dude.
Potentially.
Ooh. Yes, that's some streaming stuff.
While we're streaming.
Yeah. Well, speaking of streaming, we got a super chat before we even started.
Wow.
Thank you.
Mike, you see it there? So shout out to whoever that was.
I do. Looks like S13 Danny giving us a little super chat there by saying hello there, Thanks. Which proper form. Hello. I like it.
Nice.
Money well spent. Thank you.
Well, what's amazing about this? What's up, Doc? What's amazing about this time of year is, despite it being the lull after the holidays and it being the worst weather I can think of, it's a bright time for Star Wars. We just keep getting news, on the heels of the news of The Mandalorian being the most watched original series in the U.S. We found out today we are getting a Mandalorian feature film in theaters.
Separate from what was announced, which is Filoni directing like the end of the Mandoverse.
Right, the end game sort of thing.
Yeah, so this was announced, and it also, the verbiage in it says it's leading off like basically the movie slate. So it's like, oh,
Yeah.
where did this come from? Okay.
And in the same post, which was on StarWars.com, they also mentioned that the Ahsoka season 2 train is rolling. Filoni's writing that. That's been officially greenlit in so many words. They didn't, they did it in very like corporate speak, like this is happening. It's already in progress, rather than saying we greenlit it finally, in industry terms. So not many details on that, but it's happening. And there's some interesting things to be gleaned from this news, and that's what we're talking about today.
So we are commenting on the official StarWars.com press release, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Because like Deadline.com or like Collider or whatever, one of those like kind of, newsy, like it wasn't Variety or wasn't like a super high-end publication, more of a website. Deadline.com, I think it was, said that season 4 of The Mandalorian is also in production.
I heard that as well.
I kind of feel like if Star Wars wanted us to know that that was happening, they would have included that. So I'm kind of like, was this like just speculation? So I don't really know what that is, but
Yeah, I was wondering that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's interesting.
This seems like potentially, how do I word this? Maybe there was a meeting that was like, here's what we're doing for Mando season 4, and maybe in a financial sense, like maybe an executive somewhere was like, cut that down to 2 hours and 15 minutes and let's do a movie.
Well,
And we're putting it out immediately, instead of,
yeah. Well,
because a season is what, 3-4 hours worth of,
right.
So it's like, hey, let's just do the 2 hour and 15-minute version of this, put it in theaters.
Well, there's been some talk of that and like concerns about that being like the way of their thinking and being more of a business-minded decision than a creative one. I want to save that for a little bit later. I have a document going with some notes too, if you guys want to jump in that.
Yeah, I got notes.
Let's read some of the official stuff, some of the quotes from the article first, and then we'll get into a little bit deeper, some speculation and interpretation of things. So, number 1, this is going into production in 2024. They didn't say when specifically, but it's starting this year. And like Nick said, since this is supposed to lead off the their future development slate, I would guess that's very soon, right? Because the Rey film is still supposed to start filming in March or April, right?
Well, we know from a couple people, we're not totally out there in our own, but we're not also unconnected. That their production for a project is starting in basically about February, March, April.
Right.
And it's probably happening here. So speculation can be whatever that is, but we know that production is starting probably, like you're saying, Adam, at the front half of this year. But as a lot of people can know, especially for movies, pre-production can last a year. You know what I mean?
Right.
It can go all the way from, we've got a story, and generally John likes to write a lot of his own stuff. So the script could be written, it's getting fixed as it's happening, but we've got production art happening. We've got pre-production to make costumes. All this stuff takes months. So all things are kind of on the table.
Yeah. So the quote from Jon Favreau, pretty straightforward. I've loved telling stories set in the rich world that George Lucas created. And the prospect of bringing The Mandalorian and his apprentice Grogu to the big screen is extremely exciting. Same, bud. Same, John.
Yeah. And just to, go over what John has done, because, in Star Wars, fame, he's basically one of the creators of this, but he did Elf, was his first big directorial, like, kind of thing back in 2003 or 4, right? He did the first 2 Iron Mans. And Lion King was kind of the last big thing that he did before he really got in bed with Disney, even further with Star Wars. So, he has big screen experience, basically.
For sure. And then Kathleen Kennedy said, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni have ushered into Star Wars 2 new and beloved characters, and this new story is a perfect fit for the big screen. Agreed as well. then the official press release on StarWars.com goes on to say the Mandalorian and Grogu, in quotes or italics, one of the two, just indicating that that's a title, said the Mandalorian and Grogu will lead Lucasfilm's ongoing feature development slate, including films helmed by Charmin Obaid-Chinoy, James Mangold, and Dave Filoni, who is currently developing Ahsoka Season 2, among those in the works. So, like I said, a lot of just nice public-facing kind of corporate speak, but there's a lot of information in there. And if this is the next movie before Rey, I wonder... you wonder what it could be about, because there was no mention of Dave Filoni's project being off the table. That's still in development as far as we know, like you said, Nick. So the question is, what is this about? And then where did this decision come from? Because you would think if this was always in the works, if this was always the plan, they would have announced it maybe at Celebration when they announced the rest of the things, when they brought Daisy out. And Alex over at Star Wars Explained had a handful of concerns. He admitted at the end, I'm being a little cynical right now, but his big concern was that if it really was the plan and it wasn't just a financial opportunity that like maybe the board saw,
right?
Why wouldn't we have learned about it sooner? What's the motivation? I have some thoughts about this. What do you guys think?
Nick?
Yeah. Disney not doing great for a couple of years now is how could we ignore that? So that is going to, no matter how much we like Star Wars or any other IP that Disney owns, Marvel, whatever it is, it's going to start affecting what gets put into production. So I see, if that's what Alex said, I could see that. This just seems like kind of out of nowhere. If they said it was going to come out after some of these other things that they already announced, then I would be like, okay, maybe this was the plan. But this is just like, no, we're doing this now. It's going into production this year. It's going to come out before the other movies. It seems like a safe bet. It's the two biggest stars that Disney has basically created. So I could see it being a financial decision. Hopefully that doesn't mean it'll suck. I'd rather them make money off of Star Wars, because that'll hopefully mean more Star Wars. So if this is a safe bet for them, then cool.
This is among the coolest safe bets that could be made, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I think there's something interesting.
Mike, we lost you again.
Why does this keep happening? What on earth is happening?
User error.
Are we back? Can I? I'm not going to touch anything. My hands are up.
Yeah, hold your hands up the whole time while you talk.
Okay, that sounds good. Oh, Nick's
Nick,
throwing fireworks off.
Just do?
This is great.
I'm also doing nothing. How did that happen?
Well, this is I think this is hotel Wi-Fi. Hotel Wi-Fi.
Dude, hold on. Try this.
I wouldn't even know how to do that.
Are you using the continuity camera?
I don't know. I'm using the same camera I always use. What was that?
You're not using your iPhone as a camera?
No.
Because you did the thing the other day where you made some gesture and bubbles went up.
I did that?
Yeah.
I
You totally
have no
missed
idea
it.
what is going on.
He did it again. He did it again.
What's happening?
What is this?
This is why people watch us on YouTube Live.
I'm being
This
hacked.
is amazing. You
Same
guys,
song.
it's happening.
Now you got
This is so
tracer
neat.
in your hands? Are we on mushrooms?
Oh, boy. Yeah, what is happening?
What is going on? I can't even do it.
For the
if I want
time
to.
For the time being, my microphone is plugged in according to the internet. So I'm going to give you my thoughts on this.
Yes.
Most importantly, we have two characters that are, according to our last podcast, the #1 watched show IP in all of streaming right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the last couple movies that they've had have kind of been gambles in some ways. The movies they kind of got burned on were Ant-Man, Quantumania, that's supposed to be really rolling out a new big bad that everyone was supposed to be scared of.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't received that well. Ant-Man is his own character. Are people really excited about this? Then we also have, the Marvels that is probably, I think, the least performing Marvel movie of all time. And I'm sure that there's some neckbeard that's going to give the wrong information as to why that is. But I just think in some regard, it's, you have to look at the numbers and go, okay, that's how it performed. And then you come over to Indiana Jones this summer, which is, might be one of the biggest flops in the last 5 years, because
Insane.
Disney just didn't promote it, and then said, you remember this guy from 15 years ago? Like, here's his movie. You guys going to go see it? And so I think
still don't get that, dude. It boggles my mind.
I don't, but I think what they did was they just assumed that we would all take the nostalgia bait. It's a great movie. And they all wanted us to take the nostalgia bait and go see it multiple times. But I think this is the first opportunity for Disney to put a film out that might not have been a film, which I agree with, and possibly looking at the fact that Obi-Wan was supposed to be a film originally. And when we look back on it constructively, we can see that script, certainly that whole show could have been condensed to maybe only 4 episodes versus the 6 that we got. And so are they kind of sitting here going, we've seen these really strong episodes perform really well on streaming and also on social media response and all that. Are we going to take another long form season and kind of buck the streaming system and saying we need to fill 8 episodes to fill the next streaming show that we have, and instead just let's go straight to the big screen, which frankly I think is actually a good move. I think in some regards there's been a lot of complaints of people in regards to some of these series where, like, if something heavy doesn't happen because we're so used to serialized dramas and all that, where every episode has to have a consequence, people go, oh, it's a filler episode. Like, why are they giving us filler episodes? Right. I think in this way, they might actually be countering that by saying, fine, if you don't want filler or you want any of the fun stuff that makes Star Wars fun, let's watch a 2.5-hour movie. And possibly the story that John wrote is due for big screen budget, big screen effects. Certainly if you're going to say we want to show Thrawn launching the full attack of the newly formed undead Dathomirian army, might take a little more budget than just a streaming service was going to allow. So honestly, I'm not mad.
Dude, I'm not. I understand Alex's concerns, but it's kind of like a no-brainer. Mando and the breakout somehow surprise hit phenomenon of Grogu. Of course, they should make a movie. Of course, like we all. Ryan Phillips in my band and I always talk about how we miss that feeling of the holidays and knowing there's a new Star Wars movie. Mm-hmm. That old feeling of like the that multifaceted end of the year kind of excitement. Like it's been so long. So like, of course, why wouldn't you like make a feature film with your 2 most popular characters? And then, like you're saying, with the stakes ramping up, leading us to this whatever climax is going to bridge the original trilogy and the sequel trilogy. Yeah, duh. Right. And then maybe there was a moment, and this was kind of like my main rebuttal. Maybe there was a moment in writing, because all the best writers say that you don't start necessarily with a concept and a plot, or even a character, and go start to finish with the whole thing planned out ahead. Like the best stuff just happens. The best ideas reveal themselves as you start to write the characters. And Favreau could have been in the middle of a session, could have been just like having coffee with Filoni one day, and a light bulb went off, and they're like, "Whoa, dude!
Sure,
this could be a film on its own." It could have been spontaneous like that, and then they go to Kathy, and then here we are.
Right. And I think too, like look at it this way too. The other perspective of this whole thing is again taking into consideration what Star Wars is for our next generation of fans, right? Baby Yoda, the Baby Yoda craze, Grogu had captured the attention span, the hearts, all of the cutesy, funsy, all of the merchandise sweet spot. Everything was Baby Yoda for years, right? Mm-hmm. From a kid's perspective, I can understand My daughter is like, I've got about an hour and a half in me max before she's probably like, my attention span, no matter how fun the movie is, I'm out. Right. There's something about the fact that the original trilogy movies for us were only about an hour and a half, maybe hour and, almost 2 hours long. Right. And in that regard, it's like the attention spans certainly have gotten shorter. They've not gotten longer. And in some regards, like being like, it is hard for some of us to go back and rewatch 8 episodes of The Mandalorian. And when you have them broken out into episodes, especially for our younger fans of this franchise, I can totally understand why it's like, I'm not going to go back and watch all of them in chronological order again. You're going to go back and watch the ones that have the action or have the parts that you remember. Oftentimes that can be condensed into a movie, right? So I don't disagree with this. This is the way that Star Wars was formed. There's a lot of people who are saying that, the streaming service mentality of being able to stretch out something so that a streaming service can line up their next project in the docket to keep you as a subscriber. All of this makes sense. I'm with it all, right? But I just think in regards to how we've always kind of like especially on this podcast, we have been pining for an opportunity to see Star Wars on the big screen again since 2019. I don't know why people aren't so excited about the fact that we basically have gotten confirmation that we have a Filoni movie and now a Favreau movie, both in Star Wars using the same characters that they created. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Kind of lines up too with April 2025 celebration, like having
50th
a panel,
anniversary,
having a trailer come out, all that type of stuff.
Dude, something just hit me. Talking about stories revealing themselves and how things just kind of happen. Sometimes some things happen in the real world that drastically change what you had planned to do with the story. What if Ray Stevenson dying, shifted the Ahsoka season 2 plans so much that he's like, we just have to go way further. And whatever idea he came up with, just let the Thrawn thing slide right into a feature film story.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. I think that makes sense. I think in some regards, well, let's talk about, should we talk about this in terms of like how we think the slate is going to line up now?
Because, yeah, and let's talk about what this could be, what Mando season 4 could be if that still exists. But before we do that, I want to say something I want to throw out a little bit of homework for the end of the episode for the patrons and for folks if you want to throw us a throw us a super chat. The Mandalorian and Grogu is the current, like, we're gonna say working title. There's no way that's the actual title.
It's a little unsexy. Maybe let's workshop it.
Well, is there Kurosawa? What's the whatever in the Cub or something? What is?
Lone Wolf in the Cub.
Yeah, are they going for that?
Possibly. But patrons in the stream chat and YouTube viewers if you want to throw us a super chat, we'll read your we'll do a title pitch session. We'll read some at the end. Yeah. Oh. Fireworks, more titles.
Yeah.
We'll read those at the end.
We do it. And now I feel like I was just Hi-Man from Guillermo del Toro, Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah.
So we have people are going to basically tell us what they think the name of this movie should be.
Yeah. We'll do that at the end.
We'll
do that in
I like it.
15
so
minutes.
let's get into the slate. I think this is interesting because this changes things but also confirms some things. What are we thinking? Something's got to come first. Something's got to go second. Are we also, the other thing that I don't think we're considering is that somewhere floating around in here, which may or may not have been part of this whole project, is Skeleton Crew. Right? Which is supposed to be coming out later. And so maybe they're trying to figure out, was Skeleton Crew always a part of this project? Was, Adam, you had speculated that Skeleton Crew is actually getting to Peridia so that they could get Sabine and Ahsoka home. Where does this go? My speculation is that we get Favreau's movie first that establishes Thrawn as the threat, kind of like when Thanos shows up and no one can really stop him. And that's Mando's first thing, right? Season 2 is Mando and Ahsoka either coming back and teaming up, and Filoni's movie is the defeat of Thrawn. Now, where Skeleton Crew fits in there, it could be whatever, but Jason Chiodo and I had a really interesting conversation about the idea that the big part that we didn't really touch on in Ahsoka is that Elia Kane is still doing like she's still doing some underground work from Moff Gideon, who's no longer in the picture, maybe.
Right.
As cloning. And cloning is a huge part of Thrawn's Empire remnant. And now is he working both angles? Is he working magic and cloning to fuse them together? Is that a part of it? But I feel like this is a great way to establish him as the threat that we've known him as. But I can understand why people in the show who watched the show who didn't watch Rebels were like, why am I supposed to be so scared of it? Why is everyone so scared of this guy? I didn't really see much out of him. Favreau's movie might be able to establish that Thrawn surely is a huge threat to the entire galaxy.
Right.
What do you think?
Yeah, I dig that. Because, I mean, what we speculated, I guess, after Ahsoka, not really speculated, it's just, we didn't see people talking about it a lot right away, is that Thrawn and Ezra are in the Mandalorian galaxy now. So we were saying season 4, big bad is Thrawn for Mando. So this puts Thrawn on the big screen. It also sets up this, like, quick Empire Strikes Back possible ending where Thrawn wins and then gets defeated in the Filoni movie,
Right.
So there's that scenario too. So yeah, I mean, Thrawn's got to do some bad stuff.
Or it's a trilogy. This Favreau movie is the first, Filoni's is the second, and who knows what they do in the middle.
Interesting. Okay.
And it is all about Thrawn. I agree. It's the whole thing has to be about Thrawn.
Well, is there something interesting about? We know that Filoni, we have Favreau. I think Filoni is the big kind of mystical lore man of this whole thing, right? I see Favreau. I see Favreau as more of being the Western, still having some things loosely explained, but Filoni is like totally cosmic in his approach to things, right? The daughter, the father, the son, all of these things are like totally Filoni's wheelhouse, where I don't see Favreau so much shining in that moment, right? I think that's more like a George Lucas protege thing. But what could be interesting too is that we also have the power of the Empire, the power of Dathomirian magic, and then we also have the power of the Force with Peridia and the Trinity, right? So it's almost like the Trinity in their own way. I don't know if I'm explaining that right, but it almost kind of seems like Thrawn might be trying to unite all three of those things as like an ultimate power. Goes against Balin's approach to things, but there could be something interesting there. And obviously I think it has to lead. I think we have to see that connection to the sequel trilogy. We have to see how Palpatine was resurrected. We have to see the foundations of the First Order, eventually the Final Order. What are we thinking in that regard of, like, is that what we're getting at, right? I can't imagine that we're going to use the next 6 years of these two guys and not have them connected to the sequel universe, when literally they did it in the first season of Mandalorian.
Yeah. What would be weird though, and maybe this is just another opportunity in Disney's eyes, but if we have this trilogy, or we have these two movies that focus on Thrawn and defeating Thrawn as part of a creating the connective tissue between this era and the sequel trilogy, we then haven't even covered the rise of Snoke. And do we do that at all on screen, or do they just leave that to the page, the written page? Because they could do all this, and it's like, well, now we got all this gapped. It's like
there
just
is
another
that precedent of like the final minutes of Revenge of the Sith. That's just like, Vader and Palpatine and Tarkin, like looking at the skeleton of like the
Right.
Death Star. You're like, oh, I guess
Right.
they're gonna start doing that now, you know. So hopefully it's more in depth than
Yeah.
than Snoke showing up and being like, hey.
Yeah, it's nothing but opportunity ultimately, but it does seem like if this is the path, we're talking about minimum 5 years, if not like 10 altogether, because Ahsoka is going to be somewhere in the middle. Like maybe Ahsoka's the bridge between the two. Maybe there's just two films. Oh shit, that just okay. Talking about financial angles again. What if to really like up the stakes for Ahsoka and up the buy-in with the mainstream? What if Ahsoka, the series, is essentially the middle film story-wise? So the first season did well, obviously really well, but so many people were like, "What the hell is this? I don't understand." But if you have a feature film that everyone goes out and sees, that ends with some kind of cliffhanger or an obvious ... Ahsoka fills in the middle, crushes on ratings, and then they bring it all to a head, wrap it all up with Filoni's film.
Could be.
Dunno. Hands in the air.
The good news is, don't forget the news from like a month ago. Dave Filoni is chief creative officer or whatever he is now. So we got him. He's got our back.
Yeah.
And what's interesting too, I like this. Steven from Princess Scoundrel stopped in over on YouTube and said, "What about Mandalore and the Mythosaur? Like that's still in play. Like that is still like we still have to see someone ride the Mythosaur to kind of fulfill the prophecy, whether that's Bo-Katan, whether that's Din. I mean that I'm shocked to think that was just a one note, cautionary tale that they put in there is kind of like a huge deal for, I don't know. Like I saw this giant sea dragon under the mines of Mandalore.
Yeah.
We don't have to go back there. I don't know.
Do we save that for the Filoni movie?
I kind of feel like we kind of have to.
Yeah.
Right? Could be.
There's so much potential.
Where's Boba Fett? Where's Boba Fett?
That's the other thing. Yeah. And if Tim hasn't heard anything about Boba season 2, and he said, I don't know if it's going to happen, straight up, just like a shrug. Maybe it's this. Yeah, maybe it's because of this.
We're going to MegaCon at the end of the month, and Tamura's going to be there. Why don't we buy a photo op with him and then just grill him? We can just do that. We just be like, tell us what you know. We will not repeat it on our Star Wars podcast. But
well, like based off of our conversation from 20 minutes ago, like if we think that Mandalorian movie is based off of streaming success and therefore financial success, then Boba's not going to get he's not going to get a second season. Yeah. But they have a sussed out character that should be in a movie or seasons if it makes sense. So, yeah. Do you think, Mike, you said something a while ago that made me think this train of thought. How far back do you think? It's easy to say like last week's news, which you guys talked about, of like what did I do?
You did a bubble, a thumbs up. You gave yourself a thumbs up.
I'm doing nothing. I'm sorry for all you audio. I'm doing some sort of hand gestures, and StreamYard is animating something. Yeah. So if last week's episode was you guys talking about, or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, Mando being the highest streamed show, and then a week or two later, they're like, hey, there's a Mando movie now. Do you think that literally in that time frame, they were like, we should do a movie because it's the most streamed show? Or do you think they knew this a couple of months ago, and they're like, let's release that it's a popular show, like release the information that it's a popular show so that when we announce the movie is coming out, we have something to like, some information out there to be like, here's why, basically. So
it's got to be the latter. Like they know the numbers, and they know when stuff's going to hit the news cycle.
Yeah,
they got big brains over there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wonder too if it's hitting the big screen. What do you think budget wise? Would it be the same kind of budget as a season?
Probably more, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount that goes into advertising the film
Mhm.
The amount that goes into, essentially worldwide distribution. There are some places that are locked in regards to Disney Plus content, and that Disney Plus, is Disney Plus available in like almost all countries now at this point?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
pretty widespread.
there's something still though about the fact that you could go and see a movie 3 times an opening weekend, and that's almost 3 months of Disney Plus right there, right?
Mhm.
And so they know that when the movies make money, they make money, right? This is something that they can guarantee, and then they make money on the after market, which is your DVD, Blu-ray, DVD. What year is it? The Blu-ray and all of that. It hits streaming, people rewatch it. I mean, all of it is like it's part of the model that I think existed in that kind of sweet spot of 2015, where people were still doing all of the we're still consuming the media in almost every form as they could, right? And then since COVID, obviously people have preferred um, sitting at home and watching movies at home, which is fine. Some people critique it as a movie going experience in big cities. You've got people, obnoxious people doing whatever. But, I truly don't think I remember an excitement of going to a movie like The Force Awakens, being so excited to see that. And I think a lot of people are feeling that excitement of being able to go see that again. And in this particular case, it's an opportunity to bring a lot of people in. I can understand why kids who are young that grew up on Star Wars, even the sequel trilogy, you have to assume that kids are going to just immediately latch on to new characters. This is an
Mhm.
opportunity to take a marketed, familiar character and go, do you want to see him in the movie? Do you want to see him in the movie theater? You want to see Baby Yoda in the movie theater? And every kid under 10 is like, hell yeah, I want to see Baby Yoda in the movie theater. So I think this is a I'm sure it was a faster decision than anyone probably anticipated, but I think knowing someone like Favreau, like you're saying, Adam, I think he's got enough gravitas in the industry to say, I'm kind of feeling like this should be a movie, and I feel like people want to go see movies after Top Gun, things like that.
Yeah.
Kathleen Kennedy was probably like, you know what, John, I agree with you. Let's make a movie.
There's no way he and Filoni, when they started talking about this however many years ago, thought, well, this will just be a thing for TV. They were hoping it could get to the point where this is possible. And I'm sure Kathleen and whoever else was thinking, well, we have to wait for the right story. And maybe
Right.
this is just the time.
Right.
Maybe they finally nailed it.
Right. So the next question then, we have the slate was announced. So it's kind of like in some ways you've got the multiple timelines going on for Star Wars isn't really slowing down in regards to its content. So now this is kind of the surprise announcement for this year. Goes into production. We have essentially a movie that we didn't realize was going to be a movie because John had said that he was writing season 4. Now could be a movie. Now could also be an addition to season 4. Where is the Rey movie, do you think? Is this hanging out? Is this running on the latter timeline? And then we have Mangold's movie and the Acolyte kind of over here in the early timeline. And then you have the Mando timeline. Like, what do you guys think?
You're talking in
As far,
universe. Where does the Ray movie sit?
well, I'm saying for more casual people
Mm.
who maybe went to say, "Oh, I'll go see a Star Wars movie," and then they said, "Oh, it's a Han Solo movie." So like, where's this movie sit? You know what I mean? Because this was like
Right.
this is like the number one complaint of people who aren't somewhat hardcore enough fans, that the timeline is confusing because
Yeah.
it's so inconsistent, and it's like, oh, Rogue One, that seems fun. Where is this? And you're like,
Yeah.
oh, it's sandwiched between these two little movies right here in this timeline,
It's
right? And people are
confusing if
like,
you do know more than 3 seconds of reading.
Yeah.
like, hey, I did no research or looked into it at all. It's very confusing.
this is America, Nick. I don't want to read. I want it now. And so I think I'm interested to hear you guys' thoughts on, where the Rey movie is going to sit, because Rey could have her own special post sequel timeline that kind of exists on its own. And we still know, we've speculated on this show, that Ahsoka could tie very well, Grogu especially.
We lost you again. Mute button.
Grogu especially Ahsoka could very well tie into Rey's next generation of Jedi and
They
teachers.
better. She better.
So,
Yeah.
like, what do
If
you
they're
guys?
smart.
Wasn't there some indication? Didn't they say 15 years after?
Yeah.
They alluded to that.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that general time frame.
Yeah.
But I think the deeper question, Mike, what you're alluding to is, where is this in in the characters' stories, right? More than
Right.
just like the date.
Right.
I
Because
mean,
our let's say if Acolyte is so incredibly well received, because this is the thing too. Besides Andor season 2, Andor didn't even rank in the top 20 of most watched streaming shows of last year, and it
wild.
was probably the what's the word I'm looking for? Probably the most
Best?
critically praised thing they've ever done.
Yeah.
We still
It
get
didn't
texts
even-
from Ryan Key saying how good it is.
Yeah.
Today, still.
Yeah. Middle of a conversation.
Right. Which please do tune into our podmate Ryan Key as he's on Good Morning America. They're going to play a song on Good Morning America. That's why he's not here. He's in New York doing Good Morning America stuff at 7:45 at night. So I think there's something that I'm curious about in regards to if all of these shows are designed to be in true Star Wars fashion connected, or if they're truly like, one off. Like Solo is a largely inconsequential story that leads very much to a story you already know is happening. But there was nothing about that really affected the overall timeline of the Star Wars universe, or there was no big reveal other than the fact that, here's how Lando Calrissian kind of came to be, and here's how they got the Millennium Falcon, and here's how the rebellion, here's some early players in the rebellion. But are they going to treat our pre Phantom Menace stories between James Mangold's The First Jedi and then Acolyte, are those going to kind of just exist? Are they going to have their own era? And then is there going to be a post-sequel era that's going to add stories added on to that? You know what I mean? Like that's what I'm curious about.
I think absolutely, and we could talk for a whole 45 more minutes about that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, I don't know what they'll do, but I know I would hope that everything could exist on its own, and I feel like it's better for Star Wars storytelling if we stray away from everything needs to be connected all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to provide a richer palette for like storytellers and writers to develop something in Star Wars if they don't have to worry about injecting Darth Maul into Solo, something like that.
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
that's what I would hope, that things just start to exist. I see it here and there, but yeah, my hope would be I would love for different things to just be standalone stories, kind of in the Andor sense, where if season 1 is fairly detached so far from the story of Rogue One, so that to me, like, I would love for more things to just exist in that sense. Like, here is a story that is set in Star Wars. It is unattached from Skywalkers, from a Death Star, from Rey, from Ben, from Grogu. That's what I would hope.
Okay. That's a case for the X-Wing movie. I like it, Nick.
All right, let's wrap this up with some title brainstorming. We've got a bunch from the
Yes.
patrons that are amazing. If anyone watching on YouTube who isn't a patron wants to throw it in as a super chat, we'll read that as well. Nick, you want to read these because you've been taking notes here?
Yeah. So the Blue Guy 808, he gave us a couple. The Mandalorian's Apprentice, so that one's a little bit of I feel like a real answer. But then he also chimed in and said, the Blue Guy 808 also says, hanging out with the Dins. I feel like there's got to be them sitting on a couch with a staircase behind them, just a real sitcom living room.
Yeah.
Maddie Gunner says Grogu's summer vacation. I guess Maddie thinks this this movie's gonna take place during a summer. Masakio 87 says The Foundlings, a Star Wars story. So they're both
I love
foundlings.
that.
I like it. he also then, or Masakio87 also says, weekend at Gideon's, assuming Gideon is involved still.
Oh,
Look,
Nick, you did it again. They like
what
that
did I
one.
do? What did
They
I
like
do?
that.
You did a thumbs up.
Like foundlings like sun, right?
Yeah. Where did I live off? NATO Potato, weekend at the Mandalorians. Kai East says father and son. I like that. S13 Danny says finding the way.
Ooh, that's
I
good.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah. How about you guys? Mike, do you have any ideas?
Man, it's hard to say because, it's hard to think that at some point I really want kind of one of those ambiguous titles again. Like I remember being like The Force Awakens and going, okay, well the Force is already awakened. Like what are we talking about? The Force is tired. Then The Last Jedi was like, yo, what is this? And that's very, to me, like that's a 1980s style that just got weight to it, right? And then The Rise of Skywalker was, I think that's a call to be like, remember, Skywalkers are awesome. This is part of it. And I don't know. I'm kind of in this sense of like the I don't know. Nothing comes off my the top of my head other than just calling it the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Because both of them essentially are Mandalorians now, with Din being, or with Grogu being accepted into the tribe, right? They're both Mandalorian now. So is it the Mandalorians? With you know what I mean? Is it something simple like that?
How about
that,
like the Battle of Mandalore or the Battle for Mandalore, something like that?
Yeah, that's very George Lucas.
Yeah, I kind of like that.
That's the best one.
Okay,
It could be
I like
the Mandalorian : something. Like the Mandalorian, this is the way.
Yeah.
The Mandalorian, the way.
sure.
Or this is the way. That was the other thing. Bon and I were talking about this earlier.
Rise of the Mandalorian. The last
Return of the Mandalorians.
Mandalorian, right? You know what I mean? Like we could do this. The Phantom Thrawn. Okay, we're good.
I honestly think Return of the Mandalorians is a solid, like straight up George Lucas style title. That George
Revenge
Was that
of the
not
Mandalorians.
Wasn't that an episode title?
Return of the Mandalorians.
The
Not
Return.
Mandalorians.
It was just The Return.
Okay.
Oh, okay, got it. Yeah, I just cannot get on board with the Mandalorian and Grogu as a theatrical feature film title.
Hi,
Yeah.
I'd like
I-
4 tickets to Mandalorian and Grogu.
I fear that it's Lone Wolf and Cub, and I'm like, hey, Favreau, that's not an idea.
Yeah.
The word "and" is not a title idea.
All right. Well, we're gonna get out of here and
I'm gonna
just
do
ignore the
gestures.
fact that no one likes us enough to do a super chat with the title idea. We'll just move on with our lives. Keep doing your gestures. Hope for
I'm
a
doing
thing.
gestures to see if I could get fireworks. Fireworks. Maybe if I say it, fireworks.
If you mouth
Nothing's
the words
coming up.
fireworks with no sound, does it happen? No.
That doesn't do it either.
All right. Like and
Okay.
subscribe, rate and review. You know the drill.
Do we have anything coming up at the end of the month? At the beginning of the next
Dude,
month?
I'm
what do we
going to
have? Anything?
Orlando. I'm
You
going to
are?
Orlando. Yeah.
I'll go too. I'll go.
I'd like to go.
I love that.
We're going there for Mosh Isley, February 3rd, Orlando, the weekend of MegaCon, as an unofficial MegaCon after party. That's what this is. It's going to be the best party you've ever been to if you've never been. And maybe if you have been, it will also be. Maybe it'll be that much next level.
Yeah. It's tracking to be the biggest party we've done yet. So thanks
We
for
are
that, Orlando.
we are selling now. At this point, I think what happens is like people try to figure out, they spend all their money booking, their photo ops and like I'm going to buy autographs from this celebrity and all that, and then they're like, okay, now I have $40 left over to party, and we're like, you know what? Why don't we just make ourselves available for a very affordable party for what you get and a great venue? And we are selling now at this point exactly what I'm expecting. We are selling chunks of tickets at a time every day now leading up to it. I do think we're we're close enough to tell you that the longer you wait, the closer it is to selling out, and it probably happened faster than you think. So,
I think you're right.
just
I'm
saying.
going to go on record and say it will sell out.
I like
The
that.
longer you,
We
the
have
longer
2
you
full
wait, the
days
more
of the
likely you are
convention.
to be screwed.
Exactly. Look. I
Oh,
got
you
balloons.
did it!
Balloons.
It
What
likes
did
when
I
you said
do?
screwed. It said screw you.
Screwed.
You're screwed.
Think about this. Actually, we have 3 full days of the convention to promote it if it's not sold out. So it's going to sell out.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
We haven't mentioned that in our little Mosh chat. Like we have 3 full days of the convention to promote it if there's still tickets left.
Right.
It's,
And we
basically it's sold out. Don't even bother buying tickets.
don't even try. It's over. Party's over. We should
just
also
kidding.
say
Buy
too
tickets.
that we have a couple fun little guests, and if some people show up that are able to, it'll be extra emo, which we love. We're crossing our fingers that our very busy friends who also are in the music industry will be able to show up. Ryan Key did confirm that he will be there, hogging the best songs of the night in typical Ryan Key fashion. And then we'll also have a couple other surprises, which I'm excited about. And, if anyone shows up from the Star Wars universe to come and play, that could be fun too. That's all I'll say.
That'll be a pleasant surprise.
There's a lot of photo ops and autograph people from the Star Wars universe at MegaCon. So hey,
You never know.
hey,
MoshIsley.com. Go there. Get some tickets. It's going to be tight. Shout out Henry Clark for the super chat. He said, someone please help put together a cool outfit for Mosh. $1.99 coming in to make that happen. And
Head
then
over to the armor. Let's go to the armor party chat on Discord. Let's do it.
I'm calling it. I'm making this executive decision right now. Maddie Gunner wins with the super chat for the Mandalorian title contest. Mando First Blood.
Ooh, nice.
They
They drew first blood.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening, dudes. Thanks for hanging. Canada, I love you. And until next week, may the force be with you.